Hello and welcome to the Hickory Hustle with me, Cassie Papadimitriou. Today we are joined by my dear friend Tiffani Muniz. She and I met a few years ago when we both started in real estate investing. Please, everybody, welcome Tiffani. Welcome, Tiff. So, first, let's get started by you telling us about your adventure in real estate.
Hi, Cassie. Thank you. I started in real estate by joining REIN, Women's Real Estate Investor Network. And the reason I even went down this path at all is because I have four boys. I had a couple of them at the time who were seniors, junior, senior in high school. And we thought, oh my God, these kids are going to live with us for the rest of our lives. How are they going to afford rent here in Colorado? And so my husband and I had this big idea that we would buy a duplex, and Cannon could live in one side of it and then rent out the other side, and he could be the manager, and that would give him a means to support himself, but also work for the support, right? And we went to the bank. Traditionally, we didn't know how else to do it. We didn't have any money saved for this kind of investment. We knew nothing about real estate investing, and the bank said you need 20% down. And okay, well, here in Colorado, if you're buying a house and you can find one that's under 500,000, that's halfway decent. What's 20%? That's a lot of money. We did not have that set aside.
Yeah.
And so I saw an ad on Facebook that said, get started in real estate, buying properties with other people's money. And I'm like, what? Is that even legal?
And
Can
Tiff, I think you and I joined REIN about the same time. So when was it that you joined REIN?
It was, oh, that's so funny too, because it was July of, I believe it was 2021.
Okay.
And I joined in July, and then Caleb, one of my boys, had secured a spot on an international hockey league tournament, and we were ready to travel to Finland. So I signed up for REIN, and then within a week, I left for Finland for a couple of weeks. So I did not dive right in. And anyway, so I saw that ad for REIN, and I thought, that's amazing. How can we do this? I thought that the mastermind, the 7-day class, or maybe it was 14 days, 7 days.
I think it was 7 days.
Yeah. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was a lot of information, and I do think that I could have just run with that information.
It's funny because I agree with you. It was definitely beneficial for the $17. You got a good weeks of information.
Yeah.
And I actually say it all the time. Like, if you want to get started, start with that.
Yes, I agree. And then networking. The next thing would be to network, because I have found more collaboration through networking outside of REIN than I found networking inside of REIN. So for me, that's just the way it was. That's the way it worked out. I'm not, for other people, it might work out better for them. But for me, that was the way it worked out. I did join the big mentorship. I did all my studying, but I was busy running my bookkeeping, accounting practice, teaching profit first. And so I really just kind of let it sit on the back burner. I was not proactive at all. How about you? Were you active immediately?
If I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit in this arena. You've done
Why?
some amazing things and you like you're on this is the thing is everybody is on their own path. And
Yeah.
Tiff, you like to compare yourself to others, which is something that so many of us do and something that we have to be mindful of in especially in this industry is not comparing ourselves to others. We all have our own journey. Tiff, I know you feel like yours was a little slow, but the things you're doing now are amazing.
Thank you. I agree. And I'll stop saying and the thing is, you hear these mentors, and I hear them in my head, in my ear, saying, like, the first thing that Clifford told me is, the biggest thing is people don't take action soon enough. And I really didn't. I was doing other things. So I wasn't taking action on the real estate. And I guess that said, it just means that the timing is right when the timing is right.
Certainly.
And being intentional about what you want to do. So when I was ready to really take action, it was down the road. It
How
was,
long down the road would you say it was?
um, I would say it was a year down the road because it wasn't until I dropped out of Reen, or to rephrase that, I did not renew with Reen. And about shortly after that, I found Pace Morby. And I found Gator and I found Sub 2. And I was like, I'm not joining another mentorship. I'm not doing it. I'm not spending this kind of money.
It gets expensive, certainly.
Yeah.
But I think they are definitely worth it because again, you talked about networking and
Hmm.
how important that is. So you joined Gator, you joined Sub 2, and
Yeah.
then I think didn't you join another one and that's where you met your business partner, Grady?
Yes, absolutely. Growth Co.
Okay.
Jesse Stanton is my business coach, my mentor. And that, I think you kind of go through these different programs and communities until you find your home, find where you feel really comfortable and meet the people who make a difference. And it might have just been my mindset. And when I was ready to open up, keeping in mind that this whole time I am running a business. I'm not a W-2. I'm running a business. I have employees who rely on me. I have clients who rely on me. And as a big Mike Michalowicz fan, I was learning how to clockwork my business so that I could go from being the worker to the owner.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what clock working your business is?
Yeah, it's really systematizing your business. So a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially consultants, they go into business for themselves and they become the business. So how do you sell a business when you are the business?
Certainly.
You can never walk away from it. And so I was a solopreneur for the first probably 7 years of my business, 7 or 8 years. And it just, there's a threshold that you have to get to where you can actually hire somebody if you're working traditionally in the traditional world. You have to get to a certain dollar threshold in revenues where you can afford to hire somebody and take that leap. And it's really hard when you're doing everything yourself, and whether, do you have enough money to pay somebody else? You have too much work to do yourself, but not enough revenue to pull in, because as an entrepreneur, we are paying ourselves a large portion of the revenue we're pulling in, right? In a consulting business, the expenses are minimal. And so it was really supporting my lifestyle. So I had to have this mind shift in, okay, Tiff, this business isn't here anymore to support your lifestyle. Like, you got to maybe change your lifestyle a little bit in order to make the adjustments needed to go from solo to having a team. And
Certainly.
so clockwork is all about that. It is, how do you become not the business, but have the business run without you?
Certainly. And I think something you also bring up that maybe a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with here is you talk about being that solo individual running the business, but being sure that you're paying yourself first. So that all comes from profit first, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I didn't learn about that until years down the road. Here I am, I'm a degreed accountant, I'm a bookkeeper. I mean, I can plug in the numbers, I can do the debits and credits, though cash flow was something that they don't teach you in school. They don't teach you really in the real world unless you're working on cash flow. I was kind of doing it myself, but it wasn't until I ran into Profit First and Mike Michalowicz that I really learned how in business to pay yourself first.
Now, if you're interested more in Profit First, Tiff has an amazing 1 day workshop that she does. And hopefully she'll have another one here soon.
Thanks, Cassie.
All right, Tiff. So tell us, so we know you have your own business, which is accounting. You're big into Profit First. took
Mhm.
you about a year to really dive in to what we all call our first deal. So for me, my first deal was a flip that I did. And for you, tell us what your first deal was.
My first deal was actually being a private money lender.
What is a private money lender?
A private money lender is somebody who would like to get into real estate usually, or they don't even know about real estate, but they have money and they don't know what to do with it, or they would like to make some money on that money. And so if you're looking for a savings account in a bank, or you're not going to find anything. I mean, every once in a while nowadays you can find 4%. But being in the circles of real estate, I learned that private money lenders could make anywhere from, at that time, 10% to probably around 12 to 15% for short term, meaning meaning 6 to 12 months, usually, is what I was seeing. And I joined a group, just trying to keep myself active in REI. As little time as I had to spare, I committed Friday mornings to be able to do some kind of connecting in the real estate world. And so that's what I did. I was in this group, and this connector kept bringing deals. And I said, well, I know people with money. So if you have a deal, bring me the deals and I'll connect you. And then he brought me a deal, and I said, wait a minute, this is a really good deal. And if I'm ever going to get started, let's let's just do it. Instead of passing this on to somebody else, why don't I just make this happen for me? So I became a private money lender. I loaned $44,000 at 15% interest. And I met a really great investor and his wife, the Shippies. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, because they're amazing people, and it's just led me from one connection, that connection, to another, to another, to another. In
And
fact, it's Rex Shippey that led me to Growth Co. and my business coach, Jesse.
amazing. And Rex is doing some amazing things out in
Oh,
Idaho. And thanks to you, I've connected with him as well and have gotten a private money lending deal with him set up too. So it's amazing what networking will do. Had no idea who Rex was. And thanks to Tiff, we were at an owners club meeting and she made the introduction. And from there, it's awesome because there's so much room here in real estate where everybody can truly be a part of it.
yeah. Sometimes you don't know what that looks like until you're there and it's happening.
Certainly. So I know typically, I mean, accountants don't really think with a mindset of emotion. It's very much black and white, very numerical. So how did you feel when you sent the money off to Rex and Katrina for this private money lending deal?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that question. Um, a bit anxious. Yeah.
Where was that anxiety coming from?
Um, oh my goodness, I just sent off $44,000 I'm on the hook for. If, I mean, what if that doesn't go through? I've heard horror stories. Um, Coming from a compliance world though, I did review documents. I know how to review documents. I did not use an attorney. Typically, I would use an attorney because that's the world I come from. I didn't, but I did use a TC. And that really gave me a lot of comfort using a TC. And it was that TC's first time ever. And what's so interesting about it is that Katrina, Rex's wife, is a TC, and she helped my TC with the deal. So we all kind of collaborated together to make sure that this was a win-win. And so many people in that deal got their first deal, figured out how to start moving their business along.
That's incredible.
It was really fun.
I mean, Rex and Katrina are amazing people, but the fact that a community can come together and work together rather than fighting against each other, like that's one of the things I love best about this is it truly is a partnership and raising other people up during the process.
Yeah.
So I know, tell us a little bit about some tactics that you guys used in creating this deal to help alleviate some of that anxiety. For example, you get monthly payments so that you know before the end of, I don't know how long your terms are, but for me, mine is 2 years. And the monthly payment is nice because I know that before I get to year two, I'm at least getting some of my money back along the way. So tell us a little bit about those tips or tactics that you used in the deal to maybe help put some of that anxiety aside.
Honestly, I didn't use a whole lot of tactics. I stepped outside of my comfort zone so much on this, and I took a lot of risk, a lot of chance in believing that this was the right thing for me at the time. The things that I required of the deal were the ACH payments. Don't send me a check. I don't want to see a check in the mail ever. I mean, I just don't want to, I don't want to rely on that. And I don't want to run to the bank when I get a check. I just wanted ACH. So they were totally fine with that. And communication. I'm all about communication. So if there's a problem, I just want to know about it. You don't have to, I know things don't always work out perfectly, and sometimes we have glitches in the system, in the banking world, you know, you have a holiday, things just happen. And so communication is top priority for me. And I feel like in this world, we can resolve 99% of our issues if we just communicate.
A private money lender, I think that if you run into an issue with your deal and you've used a private money lender, communication is truly key. And be proactive in that communication rather than being reactive in that communication. It goes a long way with your private money lenders.
And I would say I'm not a professional private money lender. If I were going,
Sure.
I haven't lent again since then. If I were going to lend again, I would probably look at things a little bit differently. I do have another TC now, an experienced TC, so I would use my TC that I have now. And really, I think that's the peace of mind that I needed, was having somebody else review the documents that I know, if there are any gaps, the TC is going to let me know that there's a problem. So that would be my biggest thing, because you don't necessarily need to take the risk I took, because it was a huge risk. I did not vet Rex Shippey. The
Sure.
only way I vetted Rex Shippey is I went on his Facebook page and stalked him for a short period of time just to see what kind of thing he was posting, and just to make sure, you know, for me, I have certain criteria. If I see people posting certain things on social media, if you're posting all about religion and politics, I'm probably not going to do business with you. I really, I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying that those are the things that turn me off. I have better time, better things to do with my time than to be posting about my personal beliefs.
Certainly. And I think, like so many people say, we do business with people who we like and trust. And I think
It's
that
true.
goes a long way here in real estate.
And of course, Rex wasn't posting any of that stuff.
No,
Rex was only posting about his deals, but also family stuff. And I thought that was fantastic, because I want to see the real person behind that veil.
certainly.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move forward and let's hear about Grady, your partnership and the business that you've created there.
Okay. So I met Grady through Growth Co. He and I were in a course together, but and it was a virtual course. I mean, we just met 3 times a week via Zoom with Jesse Stanton, and it was a great course. It was all about building a buy and hold business. But more importantly than that cohort that we were in, we did a mastermind in Vegas that Jesse and a couple of other colleagues of his put on, including Amber McCullum, which was amazing. It was an amazing mastermind. We spent 3 or 4 days in Vegas, and that's where I got to meet Grady and really understand his heart. And he and I had a very similar vision, almost identical vision of where we wanted to go with real estate. And so that was in June of 2024. And then it was a couple months later that I reached out to him, and I thought, I'm dragging my feet here again. in real estate. I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing business, business, business. I'm not doing the real estate. And so I reached out to Grady and said, Grady, do you have a partner yet? Would you consider partnering with me? And he had to think about it. And then he came back a couple days later and he's like, yeah, let's do this. And I think that's good. You should think about partnering because it's got to be the right person. Otherwise you could end up with a problem. So,
Yep.
So our vision is to provide home-like housing to people who have family members who are in the hospital. So if you have somebody who's in the hospital, they were in some kind of accident and they're in ICU, your family member, and then you need to be near the hospital, we want you to have a home that is a peaceful retreat that you can go to at the end of the day. We also want to provide this type of home for somebody who needs to be near the hospital, but not in the hospital. So somebody, for instance, who has a brain surgery and they might receive treatment and be released from the hospital, but may not be cleared to travel. And so that kind of person needs to be able to stay near the hospital for frequent check-ins. And they need special equipment. It would be ideal. They could stay in a hotel, they can stay in an Airbnb, they can stay in a midterm rental. But what we want to do is make sure we have serene, peaceful homes with special equipment like grab bars and special furniture that allows like a sofa, or not a sofa, but a recliner that actually sits the person up. If you've had brain surgery, you won't be allowed to bend over for a period of time while you're healing. So it's really helpful if you have something that helps you get up and out of your chair. And so we'll have, our homes will be equipped with the proper gear for people to be able to stay, and they'll be able to have their family members there as well.
It's amazing. What an incredible mission.
Thank you.
And how are you finding these properties currently for your company, Bliss Space?
Wholesalers.
Okay.
Although that's difficult. So right now we're building capital so that we can be more selective in the properties. Because ideally we want the properties to be within a mile of a hospital. And not just any hospital. We're really being very selective. We're looking for homes near trauma 1, trauma 2 hospitals or any kind of rehabilitation facility. Like a Craig Hospital, for instance.
Sure.
So yeah.
And currently, are those homes here in Colorado, or are you looking in other states as well?
We will be looking everywhere. We are focusing on Colorado because we're in Colorado. And so we feel like just focusing close to home first while we get this established so that we know what goes well and what doesn't go well will be
Certainly.
easier if we focus close to home.
I agree with that statement. Being able to have eyes on the project,
Yeah.
either that be something small or something large, it really does bring that comfort.
Yeah, and we have some amazing hospitals here. I mean, I have a brand new trauma 2 center right near my house. It's about 10 minutes from my house. So I have my eye on a property over there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Tiff, tell us how it is that you are raising capital to acquire these properties and fund Bliss Space.
We are currently focused on co-living spaces, so they don't necessarily need to be properties near hospitals. So we want to acquire as many co-living spaces as we can. For instance, in Grand Junction, Colorado, there is a student housing crisis currently. And so our goal is to obtain several properties there so we can house some of the students, including my own kid. And by doing that, we're going to generate some cash flow that's going to help us fund the properties that we need to buy and be more particular in. But we're also looking for private money lenders, private money partners. And another way that we are raising funds is I have a nonprofit that I founded several years ago, and we have created a Bliss Space fund through that nonprofit. The board of directors elected to support Bliss Base, thankfully. And so people can donate to the Bliss Base Fund at a Good Day Society Foundation. And those monies can be used to help us with the entry fee to get into a property. Those monies can also be used for operating costs. And the intention is if people who need to be in a Bliss Base home do not have the money to stay in the Bliss Base home, we want the nonprofit to be able to provide the funds for that person. So people don't have to worry about that. We want it to be a built-in solution when they have somebody in the hospital.
Such an incredible mission. You guys are giving back and go-givers in every space and avenue there.
Big visions for sure.
All right, Tiff. So you have invested in real estate, you have your accounting business, and just very recently on December 26th, you bought a business. Tell us a little bit about that and what that journey's been like for you.
The journey on buying the business has been a little bit of a roller coaster. There's a lot of negotiation. And this is a business where the owner is 81 years old and was somewhat ready to retire, though not exactly ready. So that's part of the roller coaster. Like he built this business, he founded the business, and 30 years down the road, it's time to figure out an exit plan for him. And so I happen to be his fractional CFO for the last 5 years. I've also known him for a long time, so it was a relationship deal for me, 100%. And I knew that there needed to be an exit plan. So we started talking about this option of me taking over and buying the business earlier in 2024. It was on the table, off the table, on the table, off the table a couple of times, but ultimately he got to the point where he was ready for it, and we negotiated the terms. And even though I'm part of the business and knew the owner well, we still went through all the proper due diligence. We had an outside valuation done of the company, and we had attorneys involved, and we did everything really in the best way to protect everybody involved.
Certainly. What's the number one thing you're most excited for in the future and the purchase of this business?
I tend to be, I don't know how to say this without sounding, I tend to be a leader, not a follower. And so I like being able to make decisions. And I do have a business partner. I'm 51% owner. The business partner is 49%. Though I really enjoy being able to make financial decisions for the business. And while I was the CFO prior to owning the business, I was able to make recommendations,
Sure.
which were sometimes welcomed and sometimes not welcomed. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to make business decisions that make sense to build the business. There's a team of 25 employees, and so one of my goals is to build a better culture with this business, so that the team who really generates the revenue by getting the work done is well taken care of. I mean, they are financially well taken care of, but I think sometimes they're just treated like numbers. And so I want to make sure that they feel like they're a part of the company.
Amazing. Culture is super important, and I always have said that it's not necessarily about the skill or task that somebody's able to do, but about the person and being able to develop them, and having a culture where people are able to grow and feel comfortable is certainly important.
Yeah, Cassie, and you know why? Because this company has projects that sometimes require overtime hours. and long hours. And you can tell that some of the technicians, there's a couple of key technicians who will do those overtime hours no matter what. They'll work 60 hours a week if they need to, but and they'll get time off to recuperate from that if they need to. But there are also technicians who won't do it. They absolutely, they're not team players and they won't do it. And I don't know if that's just something built into them. They're workers. And so some people are just built so that they exchange their time for money.
Certainly.
And that's it. And when the day is done, they're done. I feel like with my experience over the decades that you tend to give more back to your employer if you feel like you're a part of the team.
100%. I am actually reading a book right now. Oh, The Compounding Effect by Darren Hardy. And he certainly does talk about how if you're, I mean, people are only going to give so much if they don't feel as though they're receiving anything. So it's important to really create that culture of embracing and creating a family within your business. And then you'll get 10, 15, 20% more back from those particular individuals rather than them just feeling like, oh, clicking the box,
Yeah.
punching the time clock, and I'm headed home to the people that actually do care about me. So culture is super important.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Tiff, speaking about books, what's one book, tool, or mindset that has entered into your realm of business or real estate that you would recommend to others to read?
Miracle Morning.
Tell us what the Miracle Morning is.
The Miracle Morning was written by Hal Elrod, who was involved in a car accident, and I believe he was pronounced dead at the scene.
Oh,
And they revived him, and he had a pretty long recovery. And when he first was recovering, you would think he'd be very grateful that he survived it, but he had a lot of hard times. And he had an aha moment about why he lived, why he survived it. And he started doing this miracle morning where he does there it's called excuse me, it's called his savers. And so every morning, and this can be 10 minutes or long, or it can be 30 minutes long, but he practices silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. And so the savers are the acronyms for those: silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and then scribing, which is like journaling.
sure.
And for me, taking that, his mindset, and doing those savers, those 6 things every morning. I say every morning lightly because I am really good about getting squirreled. As many mornings as I can. When I start my day out with my savers and doing my miracle morning, my day is always better. It always is. Because I'm getting my mindset right before I even dive into anything work related. And for me, sitting there doing my savers, my dog is always there with me.
Oh,
It's my quiet time with my dog.
the sweet time.
Yeah.
Out of those 6 things, what's your favorite thing to do?
Silence.
So
And
you just
silence doesn't necessarily mean nothing. It just means like silence your mind. And so Hal Elrod has an app for the Miracle Morning. And so I can go in there. Lucy Osborne is one of the contributors to that. And so I can listen to a Lucy Osborne silence meditation. It's more like a meditation.
okay.
And so you'll just sit there, and you could just listen to sound if you wanted to, listen to waves crash. And it can, like I said, could be that one piece of it could be 1 minute long, 3 minutes long. You can squeeze it in no matter what kind of timeline you have, you know?
Yeah.
But I like the silence because the rest of my day will not be silent.
Chaos.
Yeah, every day. Organized chaos, but it's chaos.
Hey, you know what's going on. That's all that matters.
Yeah. That's why I time block everything, Cassie. Every single thing in my life is on my calendar. Otherwise, it won't happen. If it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen.
Even
Well,
those showers, right?
yeah, even the showers. Yeah. Well, I'll take that back a little bit because if Cassie calls and says, "Hey, you want to go have lunch?" and it's not on the calendar, yeah,
I appreciate you.
it'll happen.
It's so incredible the friendship that we've built over the last few years, and it is nice knowing like, hey, if I have a question or I'm trying to figure this out, my go-to person is Tiff. And I hope you feel the same because it's nice to have that support and honestly not to have the worry because for me, picking up the phone or asking anybody for help is a challenge. And so to have that security of, hey, I know Tiff is there and I know she's willing. And so it's amazing to have that friendship.
I feel the same. Absolutely.
All right. So, in closing here, Tiff, tell us how we can connect with you on social media.
Yes. On Instagram, I am the Tiff Muniz, Muniz. On Facebook, I am Tiffani Muniz Strunk, Strunk. And you can always call me. People can call me. 303-408-4089. Truly, if you want to talk with me, that's the best way. If I answer the phone, it's because I have a few minutes to answer the phone. If I don't answer the phone, it's because I'm in a meeting.
Yeah.
Leave a message. I'll call you back. If we have wholesalers who are interested in working with us with our bliss-based properties and helping us find homes, we do have an email address, invest@blissbase, like blissful, BLISSBASE.net.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. And please reach out to Tiff. She is amazing. Like we talked, networking, communication. And she has this amazing mission, and she is here to give back to the community in so many different ways. Giving back through Bliss Base, giving back through Good Day Society Foundation, and giving back her time. I mean, she just gave out her phone number for Pete's sake. So connect with her. She is an amazing person. I am so grateful to have you as my friend and to be on this journey with you.
Thanks, Cassie. I am so thankful that Reen really brought us together. So I spent $20,000 to find Cassie.
Woohoo!